So,
Hello, everyone. So if you can hear, can you just say hi back?
hi, Tope, can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Hello, Fiyin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to today's session on the customer perception series, hosted by myself, Tope and Toby. So on this session, we'll be having. I wanted to use the mighty Fiyin Toyo with
Ah.
us. Permit me to use that word. So she's currently the East and West African marketing manager for Sensodyne at GSK. So she covers Nigeria, Uganda, countries basically in East and Western Africa. And she's well grounded in terms of marketing and also well grounded in terms of innovation and strategy. So in this session today, she'll be carrying us through the do's and don'ts in launching of your product. Nigeria being a country with plenty different tribes, there are sometimes when people launch products and even before the product launches, there's always a decline in the sales and all. But from my experience, you'll be sharing with us um, some of the key things that are important to do when you want to launch your product, and also the things that you might be tempted to do and you're not supposed to do when you want to launch your product. So on this note, I would like to welcome Fiyin. So Fiyin, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tope, for the invite. I'm really glad to be here. Really appreciate it. So thanks, Tope and Dayo. It's awesome to be here. And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I can see a few faces or names that I know. Hi, Bright. So it's great to be here, guys. And I know we've only got an hour, so I'll just jump right into things. So thank you for that great introduction, Tope. But just to set us up on the right path, one of the reasons why I was quite excited to do this is because the majority of my role at CSK has been on innovation. So it's quite an exciting place to be. I've been launching products for the last couple of years, and I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I'm definitely taking lots of learnings. So I just thought it would be quite insightful to share some of these. So before I kick off, just checking that everybody can hear me clearly. If you can just say yes in the chat, it would be helpful. Just making sure the sound is good. Okay, great. Thanks, Akiyemi. All right, guys. So let's jump right into things. I know we want to take Q&A at the end, so I won't spend too much time. And usually when I talk, I actually go through slides. But today, I said, you know what? Let me just talk. Let it be a conversation. So, guys, I hope you don't mind. This is not going to be a lecture, and it's not going to be a training. It's going to be more of a conversation. So I would appreciate if everyone is engaging and can share their thoughts and their experiences. All right, so let me start us off. What is marketing? Tope had said, we're looking at this again. I believe this is a marketing group, and innovation is a key pillar of marketing. Right? So when you look at marketing is basically, the textbook definition of marketing is identifying, anticipating, and satisfying consumer needs at a profit. So if you unbundle what those three things are, let's take it one by one. So if we're anticipating consumer needs, it means that when you're launching a new product, there has to be a need for it. You don't launch a new product and see, let's just see how it goes. So there has to be a need. So one of the first mistakes that I see that a lot of companies make and lots of even individuals make is that they launch a product, they start selling something or they introduce something into the market because they've seen it elsewhere and it works elsewhere, but it may not really work in your market. Right? So is there a consumer need? I think that is the first thing that we need to ask ourselves. Now, how do you find out if there's a consumer need? There's what you call research. And it would be good, how many of us work for multinational, small businesses? It would be good to get a sense of this. But typically, what I see is that many people are afraid, they're reluctant to do research because they think it costs a lot of money. Well, how many of us have been in a WhatsApp group when we received a survey? Somebody sent a survey to say, please, can you just help me fill this out, about lingerie, about, perfume or whatever. Has anybody been in that situation before? Mostly on WhatsApp groups. People send these things or somebody forwards it to you on WhatsApp. Please, just a show of hands if that has ever happened to you. And typically, research. So certain people want to launch a business and they're doing market research to see, okay, is this actually a need? right? Exactly. Thanks, Daniela. So if you look at companies that have done very, very well in recent times, they've looked at a consumer need and unlocked growth by delivering on the consumer need. So they've identified a consumer need. Now, what about anticipating a consumer need? And that's what we've seen in the area of COVID-19. So, for example, I don't know, has anybody seen that meme that says, if, face mask and glove didn't know they were going to blow, but in 2020, look at them, that everybody has their time, right? But if you look back, this time last year, would you have thought you would own a surgical mask, or you would have gloves, or you'd be carrying hand sanitizer all over town, right? Nobody would have anticipated. And let's be honest, last year, did anybody in this forum own a mask? If you're not a doctor, if you're not a healthcare practitioner, did anybody here own a mask that they used to wear and go out with? I did not, right? And I'm sure most of us did not. But today, I can bet that over 90% of us in this forum own masks, right? Now, what happened? Shortly before this breakout, we saw these things happening. Have you seen that Nigerians are very smart? Lots of Nigerians went and said, hey, let me go and import face masks from England, from China, from India, from Dubai, and sell. And what happened? The minute people started wearing face masks, they started complaining that they cannot breathe, it's uncomfortable. And what did we see happen next? Yeah, does anybody know what we saw happen next? Initially, all of us were wearing the face mask. And if you check, about 1 month into the lockdown in Nigeria, so around April, there was innovation. Thank you, Damilola. Face shields. The next thing you see, face shields, right? So, and that person was anticipating. I didn't know there was anything like face shield that I could use, right? But Nigerians, entrepreneurs saw that this face mask, it gets as it be. People are tired, people are uncomfortable. Why don't we try face shield? So they started anticipating a need. Now, another thing that we're seeing is people were using face masks and they told us it's disposable. You use it once, you get rid of it. So the next thing, a lot of these clothing and fashion designers that, unfortunately, nobody's going to weddings, nobody's going for parties, nobody's going for birthdays, and so on. No big celebrations. They cannot make all these fancy dresses anymore. So they diversified. God bless you, Victory. They started doing Ankara face masks. I even saw my auntie's own yesterday, and they had stoned it. It was Ankara face mask, and it even had stoning. I said, Nigerians have killed us, right? But the idea was they saw that, some people will not be able to keep up with this disposable face mask. Because when you get a pack, it's 50, right? And if you use one a day, and you've got your family of 4, that thing is done in 12 and a half days. In 13 days, it's done, right? So they now said, let's introduce Ankara face masks because it's fashionable. I think they say they're a bit more breathable, and also it's reusable. So it's cheaper. It's a one-off cost, and you can even use it to match your outfit. That is what you call innovation, right? So you look at the market, you identify what is going on, what's obtained in this market, and what is the gap. So you're identifying consumer needs. And that is what big companies like the likes of Coca-Cola, P&G, Guinness, GSK, and so on do, which smaller companies are also replicating. Right now, over the next couple of years, we're going to see even more innovation churn out. So what are the things that we need to bear in mind when we're launching innovations, even in our workplaces, but also in our businesses? Because I'm sure if I ask how many of us in this forum have side hustles, majority of us will raise our hands. So I want to talk about 5 key things that we need to look at, the do's and don'ts across these 5 key things as we look at launching a product for the Nigerian consumer, right? Now, this same Ankara thing, have we seen it in any other market? I've not seen Ankara face masks in America. I haven't seen it in Australia, in Iceland. I haven't seen it in Dubai, right? So are these things that will fly over there? Maybe not. So there are certain things that we do here that other countries may not do, other markets, because the Nigerian consumer is a very, very unique consumer. And I want to just share a few insights with you about the Nigerian consumer. A couple of years ago, a friend mentioned something. He said he was with another friend, and they were on the streets of a country outside of Nigeria. and they saw three black guys walking towards them. And the friend, who is not Nigerian, is a white guy, but he's been around Nigeria, said, the guy in the middle is Nigerian. And somebody said, why? How do you know? And he says, because that guy is walking like he owns the world. And that's the typical Nigerian for you. You go anywhere, you will hear Nigerians, right? We're loud, we're proud. Do you understand? Nigerians do everything different. When you see Africans, because I have, obviously because of my role, I have friends across other markets. I have colleagues across other markets. When they see our houses, our weddings, our films, they're like, Nigerians, you guys are different from all of Africa, right? Even in research, when you see, there's what we call, we're marketers here, right? Are we familiar with socioeconomic class grouping? Hi, can everybody still hear me? Rachel says the audio is breaking.
It's clear from here.
Okay.
I can hear you very clearly.
Right. Okay, awesome. Sorry, Rachel, it might be your connection. So there's some research that we do in marketing to identify socioeconomic classes. And research agencies tend to do this on our behalf. So what they typically do is that they step into homes and you give your consent, and so they'll just do like a quick survey. They'll ask you a couple of questions. They can ask, do you own a DSTV decoder? Are you a college graduate or university graduate? Do you own a car? Do you travel outside of Nigeria? And so on and so forth, right? So somebody says there's a distracting background noise. There's no background noise here. Maybe if everyone can just mute, it might be helpful. Okay, so I hope the background noise has calmed down. But basically, they ask a couple of questions. Now, what they find, I've heard this from a lot of research people, that they've gone into Nigerian consumer homes, and the person is living, let's say, in a one-bedroom home, no car, things are a little bit difficult, but they see that the person has a Mercedes parked outside, or the person has a DSTV dish. I've even heard people say that when they're doing in-home audits, they see a tin of peak milk, but when they open the peak milk, it's not peak milk that is inside, it's another cheaper type of milk. But Nigerians are all about appearances, and that's why you find that some people, may not even pay their rent, but they will rather buy a brand new, Camry or a Tokumbo Camry or Mercedes and so on, because image is everything to Nigerians, to most Nigerians. So here are a couple of things that we need to look at. Let's first of all look at the product. So when you're launching into the Nigerian market and even any other markets, you need to think, okay, what product is going to meet the need of the consumer that I'm targeting, right? And this brings me to my second point, which is positioning. So let's look at product and positioning together. Now, let's use an example of soap, a bar of soap, or bathing soap. Now, if I wanted to launch soap into the Nigerian market, do we think that the same bar of soap I launch would be able to cut across all socioeconomic classes from A all the way to E? So that means, will it cut across the person living in Banana Island to the person that is living, in the outskirts of some of the remote villages in Nigeria? Do we think that the same product can cut across? Now, I would like to get everyone's opinion, but I will say no, right? The common man may just need a bar of soap, just a big bar of soap. He might not even want anything small, right? So he just wants a big and cheap bar of soap. He doesn't care. His goal is what? To get clean. That is probably the deep man. My goal is to, Shebi, they said we should bath twice a day, morning and night. In the morning, he may bathe with the soap, and at night, he may just use water because he's even saving his pennies. But when you go to the A-class man, what does he want when he's thinking about soap? Can we get some ideas in the room? Right? For the A-class man or woman that's living in Banana Island, living in Victoria Island, living in these sorts of places, what is he looking for when he's thinking about soap? So guys, I'll give you a few seconds just to get some thoughts in the house. Let's see. So what are your thoughts? What is the A-class man or woman, consumer, looking for when he wants to purchase soap? Does he just want to get clean, or are there some other things? Now, when you're looking at the A-class man or woman, some of the things, thank you, Sarah, they're looking at quality and brand, right? Do they just want to use any old soap? No. So some of the things that they look at, the quality of the soap, the brand, right? Is it going to disinfect certain areas? Is it harsh on the skin? What is the sodium lauryl sulfate content of the soap, right? Is it a brightening soap? Is it detoxifying? Do you understand? Is it exfoliating? People now, what about the fragrance? Is it a strawberry scent? They're looking now for things that are functional, emotional, lifestyle. They're looking for so many things beyond just bathing now. And that's why for the A class, you may not just launch one soap. You may have to do a variety. But for the DE man, he just wants to get clean. He doesn't care about the smell, the color. He cares nothing about that. But for the guy up there, the AB, what he cares about right now is it whitening? Yes, let's be honest, we're in Africa. Some people care about whitening. Is it whitening? Is it exfoliating? Is it detoxifying? Those are some of the things. Some people will say, I don't want a clarifying soap. I want a moisturizing soap. Those are the different things that we're going to have to look at. Then some people will say, I love the smell of honey and lemon in my soap. Some people will say they want citrus soap. So then you're going to create multiple SKUs for this consumer at the top. Are we clear? And the consumer at the top can buy soap for 2,000 naira. Let me be honest with you. My husband recently went out and I asked him to help me buy my facial wash. When he saw the cost of it, he called me and said, is it this one you're talking about? And I said, yes. I felt so embarrassed. He said, at this price? So at that level, price is not a major factor, but at the DE level, price is everything, right? And this may not apply in England. So for example, when you go into a store in England, when you go into Superdrug or Body Shop, or same thing in America, you may not just find any bar of soap in the average Superdrug store. You'll find different varieties because people earn significantly. Even the lower class man over there earns a good salary and is able to afford, these things, these varieties, right? So those are some of the things that we need to look at for the Nigerian consumer. What he cares about is price and just the function of bathing. That's what he cares about. But for the man up there, you need to be able to deliver on the different experiences. The man up there can even ask, I hope there are no carcinogenics in this soap. Those are some of the questions you may get. So you cannot do a one-size-fits-all. Now let's get into positioning. Remember, as you are launching a product for the Nigerian market, which one is it? Do you think it's easier to serve the AB consumer or the DE consumer? Let's even leave C out at the moment because we have C1, C2. What do you guys think? Is it easier to serve AB or DE? Because remember, AB has all of these needs and wants. You're going to have to, delayer things, give AB different flavors, different scents. But DE just cares about price. Just give me 15 naira bar of soap, big bar. So, Bright says AB. So for some people, let me tell you the advantage of DE. DE can help you simplify your supply chain. For DE, it's very possible that you may just have 2 SKUs. You might have a big bar of soap that is maybe 100 naira, and you might create a smaller version that is 50 naira because DE may not even be able to afford 100 naira at a go because he might earn 150 naira per day. So you may not be able to fork out that amount. So you might need to give him smaller sizes, but typically the same basic soap. But for AB and C1, you may now need to have different SKUs. To serve AB, C1, you may have so many SKUs. You might even end up, guys, do you know how many SKUs Dettol has? Dettol has about 21 SKUs of their soap. So for the AB consumer, you may need to have so many SKUs, which leads to proliferation. So what does all of that mean for you? Right? Sorry guys, a flicker of light there. Why in Nigeria, you need to consider power as well when you're launching products and services, right? But for the AB consumer, if you're producing all of these different types, flavors, fragrances, and so on and so forth. What does that mean for your supply chain? Those are things that you need to think about. That means that I need to know how many lemon am I going to produce? How many honey? And that's why sometimes you see companies get into issues with so many expiries because you are serving so many consumers at the AB end. So you have too many SKUs, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of. So you find that many companies, even small companies, what they're trying to do now is to demystify their supply chain, is to simplify their supply chain. So I have some regulatory stress. By the time you're registering more and more SKUs, you are paying money for NAFDAC, you are paying money. It is a lot of stress, right? I even have friends, for example, in the business of slippers. And by the time, my friend, if you're launching slippers, you have male, you have female. Under male and female, you have colors. So you already have two SKUs, male, female. Then you have to do size 5, 6, 7, up to 10. That is already giving you about 6 different SKUs, male, female, that's 12 SKUs. And then you need to have colors. You may have 5 different colors, 12 times 5 becomes 60. Now you're producing 60 different slippers and you import them from China into Nigeria. And all the blue, somebody messages you and say, I need blue in size 5, but you don't have enough blue in size 5. Those are some of the challenges that happen when you're serving the AB and when you're working in a market that, is so peculiar when there's, sizes and so on. So those are some of the things that you need to bear in mind. You need to pick your positioning. And so most small businesses would rather go into the DE market because it's a little bit easier to launch there. When you're able to drive penetration, then you can start to introduce some SKUs for the AB T1 consumer, little by little, to generate some demand, to drive, awareness and so on. So that's looking at the product and, the positioning. So once you're able to pick your positioning, the next thing that you need to look at, of course, as part of positioning, is your price. Now, lots of people have so many different theories about price and so on, but I want to say 2 things about price. Remember that marketing, you're trying to satisfy the consumer, so you need to pick a price that satisfies the consumer. But the second thing is that you need to do it at a profit. As long as you're running business to drive profits, right? It's not for charity. So there are a couple of things that I tend to look at when it comes to price. And I know a lot of people have challenges. So some of the don'ts, don't just pick a price. Many people don't even understand the dynamics of pricing, but don't just pick a price because that's what my competitor is pricing at. So some people see a competitor that is pricing their product at, let's say, 300 naira. So they say, okay, let me just do 300 naira, or let me even do 290, so that I'll cut them by 10 naira. And that will, drive my awareness. People will say, okay, let me just go for the 290. But guess what? You don't know that other competitors' goods. Where are they sourcing from? If they are selling at 300 naira, what if they are actually buying the product at 30 naira? So their profit on it is 270. Meanwhile, you are sourcing your product, you are buying it at 280 and selling at 290. So sometimes you need to be careful about looking at competitors. So you need to look at it 2 ways. Look externally. So one of the things I'd advise is when you want to launch, do a price map of what's going on in the market. So I want to launch, let's say now I want to launch even wigs. Let me give the example of wigs. So who are my key competitors in the market and what are they selling at? Is there a gap? Is there a sweet spot where consumers are hitting? Let's say the sweet spot, for the sake of this class, is 10,000 naira. And now I know I have to make a profit. So definitely I can't buy a product that is 9,000 naira or 9,500. I need to make a substantial profit, because one of the mistakes that I see that we make when we're launching products in Nigeria is that we look at the cost of the product and we just put a profit on it. But we forget that we must have a profit and loss statement. So don't just look at the cost of product. Every time you're launching a product, remember that apart from the landed cost, that the total cost, when I say landed cost, don't just look at the product that I'm importing from China or India, or the product I'm producing at my factory. What does it cost for that product to get to my warehouse? So if you produce it in Imo State, in Okigwe, and you're still going to bring it to Lagos, what is that final cost when it gets to Lagos? That's what we call the landed cost. If you're bringing it from China, Don't look at the factory cost. What does it cost me per unit for when it gets to here, my warehouse in Lagos, or my house in Lagos, or in Anambra, wherever I am? So you need to look at that as a landed cost. Now, after the landed cost, there's a mistake that many of us make when we are coming up with new products. We don't consider the advertising and promotional cost. Many of us say that, oh, we will not advertise and promote until after 1 year. From day one of the product, you need to start investing. So you need to build that into your pricing as well. You need to be clear that I'm going to spend X, Y, Z. So once you have your costs, you know that I'm going to spend money on advertising, on promotions, and I'm going to spend money on distribution. So I've noticed that many of us forget that we need to build a route to market, to the consumer. So you need to build all of those costs out. Now, once you look at the entirety of the cost, when you take out your costs, your advertising, your promotional spend, your distribution, your listing fees, all of that, what am I left with? I'm paying salaries, I need to pay myself. All of those costs, what am I left with? When you build in all of those costs, that is when you arrive at your price. Now, in this example, we are imagining that 10,000 naira is the sweet spot. Let me be honest with you. If when you do all of those, when you build up all of those costs, if your final consumer price is over 10,000 naira, you know what it means? It means that that is probably not the product for you to launch. And when I say that's not the product, that means that same product, go and find it at another site. There's what you call site sourcing. Go and source for another site. You get something from China at that price, no, go and check India, go and check Pakistan, go and check Turkey, Dubai. It is not the right product for you to launch unless you want to drive a different positioning, which is premium agenda. But if you have identified that my sweet spot for my consumer is 10K, then you need to be able to work your way from the bottom up to arrive at that 10K, ensuring that all of those costs have been factored in. Until you can get the right product from the right site that allows you to get to that 10K, then I don't think that we should launch. And that's the mistake that many of us make. We'll still launch. We'll say, don't worry, let's just launch, Joe. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll cut the advertising spend and so on and so forth. Remember that this is Nigeria. Nigeria is a VUCA market. So anything can happen. It's very volatile, it's uncertain, right? It's complex and it's ambiguous. So you might meet a lot of roadblocks at the end of the day. Customs can come with some additional requests. Anything can happen. Stores can change their method. They can say, for you to get shelf space, you need to pay. So you need to make sure that you're in the best position possible. So don't squeeze your margin just for the sake of launching a product at 10,000 naira. Go and find the right product. Work with your P&L to ensure you can deliver that price point that is sweet to your consumer. So that is typically the mistake that we make. And that's why I'm saying we need to turn things around. Now, the last bit that I want to touch on is the place. Now, for many of us, I'm not sure why, many of us believe that when we launch a product, especially, do we have small business owners here? Can I just get a sense of who we have in the room? Are we more of small business owners, or are we more of full-time employees? Right? But what I notice with small businesses is that many times we don't think about distribution. All we're thinking about is, let me just launch the product and I will just tell my friends, I'll tell my family. Do you get? But don't think about it that way. Okay, great. So we have lots of SME owners. So guys, I hope you don't mind. Can you tell me what you do? Okay, great. So Rachel says she runs a hospitality empire. So Sarah, Taye, Tosin, can you tell me what you do? So many of us want to start our business by telling friends and family. That's not what you call, that's not distribution. Telling friends and family is you promoting the brand. That's not distribution. Many of us don't have a distribution model. And that's what I want us to learn from today. I save distribution for last because that is the key point that I see that we are missing. Many SMEs are missing in Nigeria, right? And it's something that we need to unlock. And let me tell you why distribution is very key. Fantastic of Father Sauce. So let me use Sarah's of Father Sauce as an example. So Sarah, how do you currently sell your Father Sauce? Right? Taye says she usually tells her friends and family. most people that I know, like, so there's some people in my church that do the same thing. They sell Ofada sauce, and what they do is they post on WhatsApp groups, they send to friends and family, they post on Instagram, and so on and so forth. Great, and that's wonderful. So, Sarah, what you've done is that you are using word of mouth to promote your business, but you haven't driven a distribution model. So let's talk about place and promotion. Those are the last two. You need to drive a distribution model, which is what I call a route to market model for your business. And what that means is, if a consumer wants to buy Ofada sauce today, Sarah, you've never met me in your life, right? If I want to buy Ofada sauce today, how can I get your Ofada sauce? So you need to think about a way to get your Ofada sauce to every single consumer that may need it. And what does that entail? That means that, Sarah, long term for your business, what you can look at is how many um, how many stores, how many stores can I supply my Ofada sauce? For example, can I reach a model with Spa, with ShopRite, where I can have like a little cafe serving area where I can sell the Ofada sauce to people there? Can I go to Hubmart? Can I do the same across Spa, Hubmart? Can I do that in malls, right? So that people that have never heard of me, people that are not my friends and family, when they walk into Hubmart, when they walk into Spa, ShopRite, and some of these other stores, they can see my Ofada. Does that make sense? Right? So that is what you call a distribution model. Now, a bigger distribution model can be, so those are, now you're going to the consumer, right? Another model can be, there are many parties and weddings going on ordinarily. Let's say this was not the pandemic. How can I get my Ofada sauce into every single wedding? Let me reach out to wedding planners and tell them that, hey, I can cook Ofada.
Okay.
Hi guys, sorry, I lost connection there. Can everybody hear me again?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Okay, great. So I was just saying that that's something that I can do as Sarah, right? So I can even have a low grade, no offense, I can even have like a lower grade of Ofada sauce that maybe may not be as thick, does not have as many meats. And if the wedding planner does not even invite me to come and supply Ofada sauce to the guests, can I have a cart outside? You know how there's drivers' food, a cart outside for the drivers, and I'm selling Ofada sauce to them. Imagine if I had my cart going everywhere. Same thing with rush hour in Lagos Island, when people are out about for their lunch breaks and co. Can I set up carts across with my Ofada sauce? For the lady that says she sells perfume, how are you selling your perfume? Is it the same thing or friends and family, Instagram and WhatsApp? What happened to Health Plus, Med Plus, Spa, Hubmart, and the likes? Can I reach out to them and say, guys, please, I want to supply my perfume here. I want you to list my perfume. And you guys will pay me monthly based on your sales. Same thing. Have you thought about, sorry, because I rejoined, most of your messages and your names have gone. But to the lady that says she sells perfume, do you have a distributor? Why can't you have a distributor? Our businesses do not have to be small-minded businesses where we're selling 10 per day. You could actually be selling 10,000 units a day. So have you gone to trade fair, right? The big markets for your category, which is perfume. Have you gone to trade fair? Have you gone to Kianri? Have you gone to those places? Have you gone to, what's it called, article markets and co? There are 20 major markets in Nigeria. Have you gone to those markets to go and source for distributors? You drop your perfumes there with them and they sell out to wholesalers. Have you done that? Right? So those are the things I noticed that we do with Nigerian businesses. You have 200 million Nigerians. Your family and friends are not up to 1,000. So if you're serving 1,000 people out of 200 million, it means you are not scratching the surface. And that is what we need to do differently for the Nigerian consumer. Nigerian consumer is not just in Lagos. Nigerian consumer is across 36 states. Do you understand that? Nigerian consumer is in the suburbs, he's in the city, he's across. We have Nigerian consumers that are in Ibeju-Lekki, right? We have the ones all the way to Ikorodu. So, madam, if I want to buy your perfume and I'm in Ibeju-Lekki, does it mean I have to wait for you to deliver there? At the end of some smaller stores that I can get the perfume from over there, right? So, yes, and I know some of us will say, but hey, there's e-commerce. There's the proliferation of e-commerce, right? But even with e-commerce, we know the big players in the market, Jumia, Habari, Konga, and so on. Do they need to wait for you to come and pick up the order from your house? You still need to get sub-distributors and distributors in Ibeju-Lekki and co, so that if I order from Jumia. A dispatch rider can just pick it up from maybe a depot in Ibejuleki and then deliver it to me in my house. I don't need to wait for you. And you are based in Lagos, right? What happens to the consumer that needs your perfume in Okigwe or that needs your perfume in Ring Road in Ibadan? Does that make sense? So we need to stop thinking we're in Lagos, but we need to think Nigeria. And even as we think Nigeria, let me move away, because of time, let me move away from distribution and talk about promotions. Now, many a time when we think about promotions, and we just think about, let's use our WhatsApp status, let's use our Instagram. But promoting, there's a big and a massive space for us to promote. I love digital media. I used to lead digital against Nigeria, so I'm a fan. I'm an advocate for digital. And for digital, it's very, very amazing for us small business owners, because what it can do for us is that when you spend money on digital, if your product if you have a service, the people can pay for your service online. That's another distribution model, is that your service is widely available. People can just click on it online and can get the service, right? So you are able to see that, hey, I spent 100,000 naira promoting my, let's say, my hairdressing service, and I was able to get 500,000 naira in bookings. We're able to see that conversion, right? That's the beauty of digital. But do you know that if you are providing a nationwide service, the message you are sending to the people, the message you are sending online should not be the same. When you're online, you can target one message to Lagos, you can target to Ibadan, you can target to Enugu, you can target like that. So if I'm sending my message, if I'm trying to advertise my service or my product to the guys in Kano, should I speak English? Maybe not. Depending on the consumer that I'm targeting, maybe I should speak to them in their language. Right? If I'm targeting the guys in Enugu or in Onitsha, maybe I should speak to them in Igbo so that they feel, Nkai. Does that make sense? And for the Yoruba people, I can give them in Yoruba, I can put my ads in Yoruba so that they feel, okay, tiwa tiwa. Does that make sense? So those are some of the things that we can do. And I want to also say that when you're doing your advertising, for some of us, I'm glad that I've seen a lot of property business these days. They're doing billboards, they're doing radio, they're even doing TV, and they're localizing their language. In some markets, and this is where Nigeria is very, very different from a lot of countries in the Western world. In the Western world, you can have, if you're in England, you can have, I used to live in England before, and the communication you see in London, you will see it in Birmingham, in Manchester, West Sussex, and so on. But in Nigeria, you can't do that. In some cultures in Nigeria, if you put a woman on the ad, people will stay away from that product, right? I'll give an example. You cannot typically advertise your alcohol in the north. Even companies like Malta Guinness, brands like Malta Guinness have seen that in the north, sometimes their billboards were destroyed because we had Guinness. So those are some of the sensitivities we need to be aware of. In Lagos, where I am, most people will do their buying. The woman will go and do the buying for the home, right? But in the north, it's the man that's doing the buying. So for example, if I was to launch Gary as a small business owner in Lagos, when I'm doing my advertising, I will target women. But when I'm doing it in the north, I will target men. And guess what I will do? Do we know how they eat in the north? They eat communally. So they don't buy all this little pack. They don't buy that. They buy big 5 kg and 10 kg bags because that's how they eat. So when I'm producing my Gary SKU for the north, I will have a special one for the north that is a 5 kg or 10 kg bag. Meanwhile, for Lagos and the rest of the south, I will do maybe 1 kg little bags because that's how they tend to consume. So in Nigeria, what I'll say is that in promoting, you also have to be conscious that you have a very diverse culture. What you see in Lagos is not what a lot of people will accept in Abuja. So for example, in Lagos, you're advertising I think somebody said they have a healthcare business. You might be advertising a healthcare business and you have a man and a woman and they're standing close to each other and the woman is wearing a short sleeve top. That will not fly in the north. The woman that you're using in your ad will most likely have to be veiled, wearing a hijab and dressed appropriately. Does that make sense? So those are some of the things that we need to think about. Sometimes I've seen people advertise goods and they say, oh, I've not made sales, my sales in the north is low, or my sales are low from the north. And it's because the image you're portraying is not what is acceptable to that culture. Do you understand? You want to sell a healthcare business to somebody in the north and you're putting it in English. No, you have to put it in Hausa or Fulani or in their local language for them to understand. Does that make sense? So guys, I know we don't have much time, so let me just do a summary of all that I've spoken about. The first thing that we need to know when mentioning a product for the Nigerian consumer is definitely we need to fulfill a need, right? And we need to be aware that it's a 200 million strong population and you have everybody from A to E. So I need to position myself appropriately. Do I want to be at the top end of the pyramid where less of the population is, but they pay more, but it means I need to include some complexity in my production process? Or do I go for the bottom of the pyramid where the bulk of my audience is there, over 50% sits at the bottom? So that means 100 million Nigerians, I can target, and maybe I can just produce 2 products for them and it's quite easy. I need to position and know. And based on that, I need to now determine what price is this sort of consumer ready to pay, and is this price going to be profitable for me, because I have to make a profit, right? And the next thing that I need to consider is definitely my distribution model place. So how do I ensure that every consumer can easily access my product? I'm not going to be a friends and family person. I need to set a proper distribution model for my product, even if it's a service. What is my distribution model? How can people, so think about it this way. If I'm selling perfume, is it just my friends and family that need it? Somebody in Oshogo needs that perfume, right? Somebody in Jos needs that perfume. Somebody in Independence Layout in Enugu needs that perfume. So how will that person hear about it? So I need to be able to set up a distribution model, a route to market model that ensures that anybody at all corners of Nigeria can get my product. Okay? In England, they have Amazon. In America, they have Amazon Prime. They can get their product same day, next day. We don't have that. Even with Junior and Conga, we don't have that yet. So we need to see how can I crack this distribution model such that 36 states can access my product, okay? And even in doing so, I am going to set out a budget for promoting my product. And even in promoting it, I'm not going to have a one-track mind, because that's the mistake that many of us make. We just produce one communication and we roll out that communication to everybody. Meanwhile, do you know that when men see a flyer with a beautiful woman on it, they are more likely to click on it or take that flyer than when they see some other figure, okay? Do you know that if I see a poster or a flyer online in my local language, it's more likely to resonate with me than when I see English that's not my first language? Those are some of the things that we need to bear in mind. We need to localize and bring it down to the level of the consumer, right? So I've spoken about product, price, promotion, place, and positioning. So those are some of the things that we need to look at. But always remember that you are in business to satisfy a consumer need, but you also need to drive profits for yourself. So those are the things that I'll leave us with. As business owners and as employees, is always look at those 5 things, right? And even as we do that, we also need to look at the bigger picture, which I won't talk about today, which is even people. So what are the people I need to be able to drive this? Many of us we want to work in silos, but we need people. No man is an island. What sort of people do I need to take my business to the next level? What partners do I need? What staff do I need to hire? What distributors, right? And what processes do I need to put in place to ensure that the person that orders my product in Abia and the person that orders it in Zamfara will get the same product or the same experience? Okay, so thank you guys.
Wow, thank you so much, Fiyin. In a way, yeah, I like that you were able to narrow everything down into the popular piece of marketing, using them to actually push your product. That was like, hey, was really good that you're able to marry it around it. But there's sometimes I have a question. Let's just kick off with the questions because of time. So I'll start. People should permit me to start. Sometimes even when you look at some of all these things, when you look at the products, when you look at the price, the promotion. You might, because the place of research too is something that people don't usually factor in. There are some brands that they've been running for a while. Maybe they are now trying to branch into another market, and they assume that that market should buy their products. And permit me to also use Guinness, for example. When Guinness came out with the beer like Guinness, when they did a big launch for it and all. So, but it didn't seem like, from the consumer standpoint, it didn't seem like they carried out a lot of research to be sure that the people they were targeting wanted the product. So I'd like you to also speak on that, because I know at one point in your career you worked at Guinness too.
All right, thank you Tope, for that question. So, if we circle back, when I was talking about satisfying a consumer need, one of the things that I did talk about was research and getting feedback. And I said that for small businesses, many of us will say, "Oh, I don't want to do research because the multinationals commission large companies to do this research. They pay millions for the research." And I said that even as a small business, that's when we see all of these surveys going on. So we need to be able to actually deploy these surveys. However, what I will say is that, and let's be honest, I want to be very honest with you, and I won't speak specifically to Guinness, but I'll say this, that sometimes companies launch the wrong product, and sometimes it's because it has worked in another market, and I need to try it in my market. It was such a success in that market. Let me try it in my own market and see what happens. Right? So sometimes companies just go do things out on a whim. They're not sure, but they've seen this success elsewhere. So let's try it. And to be honest with you, sometimes in certain companies, things can be political, right? Sometimes, you are connected to a global team, and a global team says, "Look, we need to launch this," right? Every market is launching, so roll it out as well. So those are some of the struggles, when people work in multinationals. But I do know that sometimes I've seen companies that launch products just because they felt it was the right thing to do. Not much data backing it. Or sometimes you launch it, you have the data, but the market has moved. The market has moved. You see what I mean? The market has just moved on. So I know people, there are lots and lots of people that open spas early this year, but today they cannot open those spas. There's nothing they can do. They've invested money because there's a pandemic. So sometimes the market moves. Sometimes and remember that for multinationals, do you know how long it takes to launch products? I've launched products that took 2 years. I've worked on products that took 4 years to get into the market. Because you have to do research, you have to do, even when you're producing, you try different formulations, you have to get stability. Once you get that stability, you have to get regulatory approval. Regulatory will do lab analysis, tests, production, procurement of raw materials, packaging, shipment, clearing. All of those things take a long time. So sometimes you plan this for innovation. By the time it hits the market has moved to another place. Another competitor has come in with another product that undercuts yours. Your product comes in and it's too high. The price is too high. So sometimes your product might be solving a need, but the price that you come in at is not good enough. Your positioning is not good enough. Maybe you come up with a product that looks very expensive, it's great, the price is too high, but it's a common man that wants it, and so you can no longer afford it. Or you come up with a product that the AB wants, but your packaging is not great. It doesn't appeal to the man that's sitting down on the banana island. So those are some of the mistakes that we make when we're launching products.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification. I'll allow Dayo run through with some of the questions that we had. Some people had some questions during the registration process. So I'll allow Dayo run through with some of the questions. Dayo?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the first question that we have here is how does one conquer the B2B space online and offline? That is, I think what the person is trying to say is, the marketing tactics one can use for business to business for both online and offline engagements. I think this is a bit broad, so you might just talk on it briefly. Yeah.
All right. So I would have loved if this person, specified what sort of business that they do. But B2B is typically a bit easier than B2C, because B2C means that you're targeting 200 million consumers. But B2B, I think the first step is. Hello? Can everybody still see me? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I lost you. So the first step really would be to identify who are my customers. right? So who are the people that I want to target? And then the idea would be, I mean, I don't know the nature of the business, but the idea would be to reach out to them with your USP. So, there's what you call your sales sheet. Reach out to the customers that fit into that bracket that you need with your USP. So explain what is the service that you render, right? And what you might find is that maybe there's already an incumbent sitting down there. So what you can do to unlock growth is maybe drive value by possibly, if it's profitable for you, drive better pricing than the competitor or add value. So for example, if I want to offer media monitoring services to multinationals that run ads, one thing that I can do, I know that the media monitoring service companies now don't cover all stations. So what I can do is that I can cover all stations. So that will be my USP. So the idea is that I'm better than everybody else, so you can reach out to me. Another thing that I could do is maybe if their own report takes 3 weeks to come out, I can put in a digitized process that means that my reports come out in real time. So for you to crack B2B, you need to be different from everybody else in the market and go and present your USP to those customers. You need to identify the customers, prospect them, and then you go out and follow the 7 steps of the call or 12 steps, depending on how you see it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that answer. So the second question is that do you have any advice for how best to conduct market research before launching a banking product? So basically, how to conduct market research before launching a banking product. Yeah.
So my first degree was actually in psychology with ergonomics, and a big part of it was statistics and running research. So what I would say, if you're really serious about such a business, I would advise that you run 2 types of research. There's what you call quantitative research and qualitative. So quantitative means that you're going to get what you want, what you're after is volume of data, not really the quality, right? So what I will say is, who is the target consumer for this your banking service or product? Identify them. Let's say you want people that are between the ages of 30 and 40. So what you can do is reach out to groups that have those sorts of people. It could be WhatsApp groups, it could be forums online, and so on. So you design a survey. You can use SurveyMonkey. These are free tools that are available. You can even use Google Forms, right? So design the survey in a way that gives you the information that you want. And don't lead people. Don't ask leading questions. One of the best ways to get the good answers to surveys is that you ask open-ended questions that are not leading. So don't ask questions like, would you like a banking service that provides this, and this? Why don't you ask them that, what banking service would you like? What banking service would you prefer? So those are some of the things that you can do. So you blast out that survey and try to make sure that it is representative of the consumer group that you want. Once you get those preliminary answers, I will then ask you that you reach out to your network of friends and family and do a close group, a focus group, where you bring about, let's say, 10 or 20 of them together on a Skype or Zoom call like this, or even face-to-face, and then you go deeper, asking them specific questions, and you can share the preliminary results of that first quantitative survey with them and explain that this is phase 2, which is qualitative, and so you want to know that from the feedback, people said that they want a service that is instant, a service where they don't have to walk into the bank, and this is what they want, So get their opinions, sample it, and once you sample them, you now come up with a framework of what you want to launch, and then you go back to that focus group again and say, this is what I've developed, what are your thoughts? So you get their feedback until you believe that you've gotten to a point where your focus group is, most of the focus group is aligned with the proposition that you've developed.
All right, thank you very much for your answer. For the last question, so the question is, you said, how do I position a new product or service as a premium brand in a price-sensitive market? And how do you position a new product or service as a premium brand in a price-sensitive market?
Okay. So, I mean, if that person is on this call, it would be very nice to say what you do, but it really depends. And let me be honest with you. Let me share my thoughts. There are different consumers. There are different types of consumers. right? And consumers spend money differently. I'll give you an example. I mean, there are certain things that I don't care about, that I don't need to spend money on, right? I'm just using myself as a consumer. Even in this pandemic, people are price sensitive, but are people still buying iPhones? The answer is yes. Are people still buying diamonds? Yes. Are people still buying expensive things? Yes. Okay. But can everybody do that? No. So the idea is, if you're going to launch a premium product, you know that this is not for C2DE. I'm looking out for AB, right? Maybe ABC1. Now, the idea behind the premium product is not just the product quality, right? There's some things that are quality. Diamonds, it takes a long time to mine and process, and then you get a certificate of authenticity and all of that. But let me ask you a question. For those of you that have, let's say, a Chanel bag or a Louis Vuitton belt, what is it? It's leather, right? It's leather, it's craftsmanship, it's just man hours, and it's a brand, right? Can you get that same leather that is not branded for 10% of the price? Yes, a Chanel bag costs £3,000. In this pandemic, people are still buying Chanel bags, right? So the idea behind this is that they created a brand. Okay, so if you want to launch a product, a premium product, there are so many steps involved, but the idea behind it, first of all, would be launching the perception of the brand. So it's not just, it's about the lifestyle, the experience. So first of all, build a quality product, make sure there's a need for it, right? So when you build a quality product, make sure that the packaging itself is quality. Okay, so for example, my fashion designer, when she delivers certain clothes, she delivers them in a box, clothes. So she has a branded box, there's champagne in the box, there is that tissue wrapper in the box. It's delivered in a premium way. Is it the same thing as my other tailor that delivers Ankara in a bag? No. Are the prices different? Yes. So look at the packaging and the experience that you deliver. And even in promoting that product, who are the influencers you're going to work with? What mediums are you going to use? So everything about the product and the service must scream luxury. And if I'm going to call your phone, if I'm going to call the company to order and somebody picks up and say, hello, no. Even down to the people, the person that picks up the phone should speak in a way that depicts this is luxury from A to Z. So it's a long process, but those are some of the things that I would say are quite important.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for the response. I'll hand over to Tope so you can walk through the questions on the chat group. All right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Toby. Sophie, I'll just run through some of the questions we have here. I know that we have taken deep into your time already, but I apologize for that, please.
No worries at
mind.
all. No problem.
Thank you very much. We'll try and estimate up now. So the first question here from Elizabeth, she's saying, is it possible to create a product that would cover all or almost all classes of the market? She's looking at a product like food, for instance. Is it possible to create a food product that can service all the markets?
Okay, so yeah, it's possible. So look at what are the things that the common man, what is the thing that everybody in Nigeria drinks? Everybody drinks water, everybody drinks Coke, everybody drinks gari, even people in Banana Island, everybody uses sugar, everybody uses salt, right? That is a product. However, is that product expressed in different ways? Yes. Water for the common man is given in a sachet in the pure water form because it's cheaper to produce that sort of packaging versus bottled water with a cap. Do you understand? So one company can decide to have sachet products for the lower man and then bottles, PET bottles for ABC. So yes, it is possible, but I think what you may find is that you will have different SKUs. You may need to have maybe sachet, smaller packs, cheaper packs for the lower consumer, and for the higher end consumer, you may need to use something that is much more durable and bigger, right? And I think that you see that happening much more now. Before you would see that salt, Dangote sugar would go across, but now we see a lot of value brands coming in, so that you find that it's very hard to see that cut across. across everybody. But a product like Coca-Cola, everybody drinks, A to E, but you have the guys like Big Cola coming in, have undercut them with a cheaper price. So now you see that the market is really, really being segmented. So you can have a product, but what I would say is that the expressions of those products may differ across your A to E, because your cost of production of a bottle versus a sachet is different, which means that the end price is different. But will Dangote drink water out of the sachet? No. Will I do that? No. So you may want to give me a bottle, but you may want to give my driver or my security man in a sachet.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll just take one more last question. And because you spoke about route to market, and it's one very important thing in terms of in marketing that a lot of people overlook. And it just shows that the way you really emphasized on it shows that it is actually a really essential part. And somebody asked the question. The person said, how do you build and maintain a loyal distributorship network in a competitive industry? That's how do you build and maintain loyalty amongst your distributors in a competitive market?
All right. So I think some of the key points that we need to note is that distributors typically don't operate on exclusivity. So a distributor will distribute for you, and they will also distribute for your for your competitors. And that is not a problem, because that's just the way the market is. So when you say loyalty, they are going to have to distribute for everybody. But what you can do is incentivize them to sell more of your product. So for example, introduce volume buys. So if I'm selling perfume to my distributor and every perfume that he buys is 5K and he's selling it out at 6K. So I can tell him that if he buys 10, instead of 50,000, he can buy it for 48. I can also introduce a distributor loyalty scheme, such that I'll tell him, I say, okay, now every month what you're doing for me is 100 pieces. If you can move this to 150 pieces, the extra 50 pieces that you do, I will give you a chest of drawers to display them in your office. I can give you shirts, branded shirts for your boys. I can give you a small fridge. So you need to, as you scale up, you need to develop loyalty programs for your distributors as well. Because like you said, other competitors do this. When I go into the market, I see distributors. People are giving them fridges, people are giving them ACs, generators, and so on and so forth. So if your business is getting to that level, then you may need to start introducing incentives for your distributor. And the incentive can be as small as credit. For every 10 pieces that you buy, Oga, there's 1,000 naira credit inside here for you. For the, once it gets to 50 pieces, Oga, instead of 1,000 naira credit, is now 5,000. Right? Once it gets into the hundreds, sir, we've got shirts for your team. We've got this and we've got that. So those are some of the things that you need to do to ensure that you scale up their purchase. So what that does is, remember that your distributor has a limited pocket. So one of the tricks that I will advise you is that try to take more out of his wallet than, so that by the time, if you hit your distributor at the beginning of the month, and let's say his buying power is 100,000 and 90,000 he buys from you, automatically you pushed out most of the competition. So that is what I would say. Just try to incentivize your distributors as much as possible, and also help them. Depending on what sort of business that you run, but one of the things that you can help them is you also help them to manage their own business. So that's something that we learn in FMCG, that when you work with your distributors, you also help them to determine their ROI. You help them to work on their costs to drive better efficiencies.
Okay. Oh, that was. I think in a way I could relate that to where you said, before you launch a product, factor in all of these things into your price already. So I think it is also very important. So somebody asked a question, and the person also sent a message privately. She said, the person is saying, for someone who is just starting a business with limited products of about 20 pieces, is it possible to get distributors without incurring a loss? And how best can it be positioned? So I think you have answered some of the second part of the question, the positioning.
Yeah.
But on the part
All
of
right. So distributors don't. So distributor is not supposed to be a loss. And the idea is that, let me tell you, if you're selling perfume in this example, from the very beginning, the price, your goal should be you're selling to distributors, so they are driving your route to market. So let's say your perfume is 2,000 naira. The price is 2,000 naira to the distributor. Or let's say distributor sells to wholesaler sells out down to the consumer. By the time the consumer is buying, the consumer is now buying at, let's say, 3,500. That is the idea. So you have different price structure. This is the distributor price, this is wholesale price, this is consumer price. So you shouldn't operate at a loss. Now, so even if you have 20 or 10 or 5, you should not operate at a loss, because all you're doing is giving them to the price that you work into your P&L. That's your net selling price. That's the price you sell to distributors. So if you now sell direct to consumer, you're supposed to even make more. So selling to distributor, that should be the price that you have built into your pricing structure already. So you should not sell at a loss. Right? And if you start working with distributors, what you may find is that one distributor will even take all 20 pieces, right? So the idea would be that once they sell out, that you make your money back, so that the next time you're able to give him 40 pieces, you're able to make more and now start working with more distributors. It will help you scale up faster than selling one by one to consumers. Okay.
Okay. Um, thank you very much for the response. I hope it answers that. So I think this is how far we'll be able to go, because we are really trying to respect your time as well. So, but before we go, I would just want to do a recap to ensure that we're all on the same page. So you spoke about in before you launch a product, you spoke about understanding the type of product you're about to launch, and understanding if you need to create different categories for the product. And even when you're looking at the product, you also need to look at the positioning and understand the market, so they can build the emotional attributes around it for them. Then you also spoke about the price. You said something that when you are pricing, which is one mistake that people should not make, you don't underprice in a way that you won't be able to make profit, because and you should also factor in your advertisements and promotional money or marketing money in general into your pricing, even for the long run, so that you don't now have to increase your price after, say, 1 year. The market will react to it. So it's always good, but even as you also say at the same time, it's good to also do a competitive analysis to know what the other competitors are doing in that same price. And if you see that you are overspending or overpricing, you need to maybe you can look at looking for another source to get your raw materials, just to ensure that your price is at the purchasing power of the consumer. Then you also spoke about promotions, which you said. Then you spoke about place, which is where you spoke about the route to market in place, and understanding that you should not just sit down in Lagos and think for the customer in Nasarawa. We should be able to also think of the same products, how will they sell in those different areas. And I think that's one mistake that most of us in marketing make, is we sit down in our offices in Lagos and we think for the people that are outside Lagos, and we now just nosedive with our projects or our campaign. Then you spoke about positioning, which is what we said at the first time. So on this note, I want to say the reason why I did the recap is so that to be sure that I've learned a lot of things.
That was good.
So on this note,
But please, Tope, I hope you don't mind. I just saw a question, about peanuts. Is it okay if I just answer that really quickly?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, so Thais, I think, no, not Thais, sorry. So Elizabeth asked a question, or who was it? I just saw it about selling peanuts and how to drive distribution, basically. I think I've lost it. But what I will say is, have a model, have a route to market, distributor, wholesaler, down to the consumer. So you should try to target selling to two types of people. Sell to distributors in the market. So go to the key open markets, and you can start in Lagos or whatever state you're in. In Lagos, you know the key markets for you. You know that there is what's it called? There's Okeari, there's Trade Fair, and so on and so forth. So go into those markets and go and reach out to those distributors. See, distributors are not going to buy cash. They're not going to buy on cash, right? They're not going to pay cash for that. So be willing to drop 2 boxes, 3 boxes of the product with them, right? And then you come back to see how they have done. Now, if you're really serious about that business, what you need to do in that market, when you drop your product with the distributor, you may need to hire open market reps that will take that product from the distributor and go and sell into the one-by-one stores and the kiosks and the tabletop. And those kind of merchandisers, those are people that you can pay 30,000 naira, 40,000 naira every month, right? But the idea is that you need to make sure, if you're paying somebody 40K, you need to give them a target that ensures that the profit that they are bringing on every sale is more than the cost of that person in that market. So go to all the markets, give your products there. And then the second thing, so if you give your products there, they will now find their way down to wholesalers, retailers, and consumers will buy it. Your business, you have no business with consumers, right? And then the last thing that I'll say is identify what I call modern trade and key accounts. If you want to get into stores like ShopRite, Spar, Hubmart, and Co, Ebano, you need to have a NAFDAC number. So go and apply for a NAFDAC number, NAFDAC registration. You do the application, they will test your product, they'll come and do a good manufacturing practice inspection of your facility. If your facility hits the mark, then they will give you an approval. And once you get your NAFDAC number, you can go and list your product in Ebano and Co. So you have a different price structure with those ones. Just focus on that. Don't start selling face-to-face to consumers and friends and family. Give your product to distributors. Distributors, you can drop 50 bottles with a market, and 50 bottles will be done in one week, right? Go and do the same thing all across Spa. And the good thing is that try to secure bulk orders with the Spa, ShopRite and Co headquarters, so that they can move your products all the way to Port Harcourt, to move it to Calabar, because these are retail chains. Do the same thing with Hubmart, Ebano, Just Right, Grocery Bazaar and Co. That is what I would say you should focus on. And for the person that is selling Armor gym shirts, sorry, Tope, identify gyms that you can partner with. Put your products in those gyms and put some advertising materials up. Identify clubs. Unfortunately, it's a pity that clubs are closed. I'm a member of the club, and what I notice is that we have stores. Once we get in, there are stores that sell these bulk shirts. They sell different gym items. So identify those ones so that you can get your products in. And also you can do the same thing with the pharmacies like Health Plus, Med Plus. They have like some fitness sections as well. And there are fitness stores as well across different companies. So that can be your distribution model while you also set up e-commerce. So even for everybody that's here, you're selling a physical product, you also need to ensure you have distribution across the e-commerce stores. So Conga, Jumia, Abari, Zenith Bank is launching one as well. So do the same thing while you continue to drive the message of your product online, with social media, with Google and radio, so on. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So for people that don't know, Fiyin also runs, I would say like a social organization, Empower You Nigeria. And what she does is she helps people in career lines to actually upskill and develop themselves with employability skills. And the reason why I'm saying this is when we put up the material that we're having you on our session, somebody was like, that after she attended one of your sessions on optimizing of LinkedIn, she got about 5 interview requests in 2 months. That was a very wonderful testimony. I don't know if Toby is also here. Toby works in an agency, so when he also saw the material, like, that's a very nice person that you gave him a recommendation at one point in time. Okay, Toby is here. Toby, can you?
Hi, Fiyin. My name is Toby. I work with DDM.
Oh, wow. Hi, Toby.
Hi, Fiyin. Good to hear you today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, thank you very much for honoring our request, and we hope that if we call on you next time, you would heed our request. And if you would like to be a part of our session tomorrow on optimizing your LinkedIn, you can check out on social media on Instagram at empoweryou_ng. So she'll also be having the session tomorrow on how to optimize your LinkedIn. I'll be joining because I also want to get those multinational requests. So the link to the recorded session, because I see somebody asking, the link to the recorded session will be shared on to participants, so you can drop your email so we don't just spam people that did not participate with the link as well. So on this note, I'd like to say thank you very much, Fiyin. God bless you. This is a series that we created to restate the importance of the consumer to the people, because whichever products we're using is for the consumer. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for being a part of our story.
Thank you so much, Tope and Dayo. I'm very honored to have been here. And thanks to everyone that came. And I think the team that set this up, you guys have done an amazing job. And I hope you invite me to future sessions, because I really want to learn from other people as well. It's been great. And all the participants, you guys have been amazing. You showed me so much love. I love the engaging questions and the suggestions and answers. So thank you guys so much. Take care, and yeah, God bless.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So Dayo, any final words?
I just want to um, say especially that I've learned a lot, and then for me this session has been more of a further confirmation of what needs to be done by a lot of SME owners and startups as well. And really want to thank you for the knowledge shared. It's really been an eye opener as well. And like Tope said, we'll join you tomorrow also to learn more as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yay, awesome.
Thank
Some
you.
people are asking for the link to register, so I'm just typing it
Okay,
in.
okay, yes, yes, please.
Wait, all right, Tope. So I will take my leave now. Thanks, Tope and Dayo and everyone.
No problem. Yes, thank you very
Have
much.
a good evening. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be sharing the link very soon. Just 1 second. Let me try. I think she shared it, but let me just try and also get it. Okay.